Feeling disconnected, disassociated, not speaking up during sex again is not another failure. It's information if you know what to do with it. My name is Betsy Perez, and I support women who have experienced childhood sexual abuse learn how to listen to their body sensations to improve their sex lives and overall well being. Now, I know exactly the the pain, the frustration that comes with being in a relationship with someone that you love and that you care about, and still having moments of sexual disconnection, disassociation, not wanting to speak up, sometimes not speaking up at all, in spite of even the work that I have done for myself. And what I realized was that it's not so much the that my body is broken. What I understood is that that is how my body functions. My body obviously at some point must have been either overstressed and overstimulated and shut down at some point during the sex. And what I discovered for myself was that oftentimes it wasn't that I wanted to stop sex full time. I just wanted to stop sex for a little bit so that I can gather myself and then restart again. So even if there were times where the sex did stop, full stop, there were more times often than not that it was just a pause and then we continued. And that process for myself took a while for me to understand that it wasn't that my body once again was broken or was faulty, but that I needed to understand how my personal body worked and what that meant for me. And the way that I was collecting that information is that after sex, I was actually sitting down with myself and understanding and reflecting what happened, which is probably something that you're not doing, which is completely understandable, especially because what we're used to is that once we disconnect, we disassociate, we feel like our voice is gone or like our mouth has broken, that we stay quiet. We then continue to have the sex in whatever way that it's happening. And because we were disconnected and because we felt like our partner was not present with us or realized what was happening, we end up being resentful one with them, and then resentful with ourselves. And then we don't get that after sex melatonin that puts us to sleep, or that oxytocin. We don't get that love hormone. Instead, our cortisol and our stress stays up and it goes up even more. We don't sleep. And then we wake up, if that cranky, we wake up frustrated, we wake up with low mood because we didn't sleep, and then the thoughts consume our day, or because we're so frustrated with ourselves that we completely just disconnect and we choose not to even want to think or even want to feel. So we numb in whatever ways that we do, whether it's through smoking, whether it's through binge eating, whether it's through being consumed in someone else's problems, so many shopping, because we got to make ourselves feel good some way somehow, because we cannot at the moment withstand or really be with or have the skill to be with our bodies and with the experience that we just had. And then it comes back to home, because then we get home, we're still upset, we're still mad about it, and then we begin a cycle. And then your partner, he don't know what's going on. He's kind of completely oblivious because he had a good time for all intents and purposes, and he maybe thought that you had a good time, or because this has happened so often that they may be intimidated with having this conversation, and the culture of your relationship has already fallen into this cycle of when we have like a funny sexual interaction, you either minimize what your partner is sensing, or you don't talk about it at all, and they kind of feel like, okay, well, I'm gonna take her word for it. But obviously they sense that there is some tension. Then you guys go into the cycle of not having sex for a little bit, and until you kind of work through it, however it is that you work through it. But then it's almost like it's like one more cut, and you learn how to bury it, you learn how to move past it, you learn how to live through it. It's, you just kind of stack it up to all the other times. And we learn that a lot of times from the way that our childhood sexual abuse was handled. Oftentimes no one talks about it. Oftentimes, even if we do talk about it, no one actually talks about the sexual piece of it, about how to be intimate again, how to deal with intimate situations where, although your partner is not harming you in an intentional way, you are having a difficult time with speaking up and advocating for yourself sexually. Hence, then kind of getting yourself back into that cycle of a sexually wounded child who doesn't speak, who is resentful, who harms themselves or is passive aggressive and harms others. And then you kind of go back into the rhythm of how life goes, and then things are probably fine for a little bit, and then it happens again, and then you're back into that cycle with your intimate relationships. So I found myself in those cycles. And when I started to understand that sexual self-advocacy and that my body was actually not broken, that this is actually part of the way that my body has protected itself, that my body hasn't been betraying me, then I started asking different questions. When I understood that my body's responding to the environment, then I started asking different questions. When I understood that the environment isn't always the immediate scenery, but the environment is also the environment of my life, an event in my life that I'm experiencing as well, then I started asking questions, not like, why am I broken or why me? But I started saying, okay, this happened. This is why now? Why did this happen? What has changed in my environment recently? What have I been experiencing recently? And I gave myself time. I gave myself a process to reflect. I gave my body an opportunity to actually say what it wanted to say. I actually sat with myself and I built a process for myself to withstand that discomfort, and how to move through that discomfort, and how to breathe through that discomfort and actually express it, so that then I can lower that pressure for myself, understand where I'm at, understand, okay, this is what's happening in my life right now. This is why I'm stressed and I need to decompress a bit more. These are all of the factors that are happening, all of the data points that are happening in my life right now, so that I can better understand how my body is functioning, so that when I'm when I was in this last encounter with my partner, who I trusted and I love dearly, why did this happen? Why did I shut down? Why was I unable to speak up? Why was I unable to tell him, hey, I need a minute, I need a moment? So when I began to actually reflect, after my sexual encounters, and not just when things went left, but also when things went right, I was able to then understand a little bit more of how my body worked. I had a little more and more understanding of, oh, okay, when my body starts feeling like I'm losing a little bit of my breath, that is an indicator to me that I'm kind of losing some kind of disconnection, or I'm feeling some kind of fear, or I'm feeling some kind of apprehension. So I was able to give myself the time to go back into that space, that sexual moment, with care and with a container for myself, to revisit that moment, understand what I felt, write it down, understand my process, the stimulus, then the process in my body, what happened, and then the lack thereof action. And what do I, and then in the moments where, and what did I need to do, or what I didn't do different from the moments when I did speak up. Because I'm sure that there are moments that you have spoken up. There are moments that you did say what you liked, or you kind of indicated in a, maybe not so clear, but in a way that your partner received, like, I don't know if she liked that. But how do you then begin to even refine those strength moments? Because those are data points. That's information of the fact that you are able to do it. So that, for me, when I began to understand that my body isn't broken, and that these moments where it's difficult for me, or has been difficult for me to speak up, that's information in order for me to then clearly bring my partner into the fold and let them know, like, hey, next time that, we're intimate, I may need a little bit of time, or I need, I'm having a little bit of hard time right now with myself. And then also, what this also helped me understand is that intimacy, and the sexual intimacy that I was having with my partner, it forced me to understand that sexual intimacy, is beyond the bedroom, and it's beyond the act. Because what I needed was to be able to tell my partner, oftentimes it's that we go into the sexual encounter already feeling vulnerable in some way, and not feeling like our muscle for self-advocacy is strengthened. That's at least what I noticed for myself, that usually the times that I have been less vocal about my needs has been impacted or supported by days or weeks of actually not advocating for myself in my life outside of the bedroom. So there's momentum outside of the bedroom where I haven't been advocating for myself. I haven't been processing my thoughts and my emotions and articulating them. And then when you have all of this momentum on, 12 hours, 15 hours of the day, and you put it against a moment where you're vulnerable, where you're naked, and you have less on, to, however long it is that you are intimate with your partner, when you put 15 hours of practice of not taking care of yourself, of not articulating yourself, next to, and try to push up against 2 hours of where it's some of the most important times to say something and to advocate for yourself, for your pleasure, you're trying to pull from a muscle and a practice that you haven't given enough time. So you've been saying yes, or staying silent for 15 hours. That's what you've been practicing. And then you're trying to practice, no, I need a moment, for 2 hours. Unfortunately, you can't out practice 15 hours of being silent and not advocating for yourself. You can't out practice that level of self abandonment, to then try to advocate for yourself in this small window of time. And that was for me why I began to understand what is happening in my daily life that is actually impacting my intimate life. And I built myself a process where I actually reflected on my sex. And it's not for you every time you got to tell your partner, I didn't speak up this time around. You don't have to, and this may not be the people may not sit well with, but you don't have to tell them every time that you wanted to say no, but you couldn't. Not every time you have to tell them that. Sometimes those moments are for you to realize and for you to understand for yourself, like, okay, it happened again. What do I need to do differently? Clearly understand for yourself to some degree what is happening. And then you can bring that to your partner or not bring that to your partner, but self-correct, reframe. It's a handful of times where I have addressed this with my partners, but not every time, because if I told them every time, that's gonna overwhelm them. It's gonna overwhelm me because I'm gonna have to say it all the time. Well, I didn't speak up for this time, and I didn't want you to do that, and I didn't move your hand, or you know what I'm saying? Like it's not. You can. I'm not saying, but it 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 doesn't always help to talk about it. Sometimes these are moments for ourselves. And if you have a process for yourself, if you have something that you have your own, that you have your own system, like, okay, this happened, and I'm gonna go through so what happened that day, what happened leading up to that day, in what ways did I not advocate for myself, or what life event or what routine in my life has shifted that I am either uncomfortable with or I'm still trying to settle in. So when I'm trying to settle into it, my ability to speak up or articulate what it is that I need is in transition, or it's in flux. It's a system of questions that you can have for yourself, so that you're able to gather the information that you need, so that you're able to strengthen yourself, so that you're able, this is like the intimacy gym for you. Sometimes people want to go to the gym on their own. Not a lot of people like workout partners, and sometimes even when you do like your workout partner, there are sometimes some part of your fitness and your health journey, there's some things of our journey that are for us. And then you bring your partner on. So I think that being strategic, and that could be another conversation, being strategic of when you bring your partner into the fold is important, because as you continue to strengthen your sexual self-advocacy skills, and you are finding that, okay, it's not that it's happening less, but it's happening less within a span of time at first, right? And then, after a while, you're like, oh, it's happening less overall. Or I may not be able to articulate on the first time, but I realized, like, oh, it took me two or three attempts during the sex to say something. So these are small wins, and these are small indicators of progress that, anyone could be like, oh, it took me a while to say yes. You know what I'm saying? And you want to be mindful of that, because it can also impact your relationship in a way that you're not hoping for. You may think that giving your partner all the information is important and it's going to help, but sometimes it can even make them feel a bit unsure, overwhelmed, and it may not have the impact that we want it to have if we don't really if we are not really sure about how we're framing it. It's one thing if they ask and you let them know, like, I'm on this journey and I'm trying my best, and it's part of like the pillow talk or the conversations that happen the day after or the 2 days after, when you kind of are talking about the sex and things like that. And maybe it's something that they notice because they know that in this season right now, sex is a little bit delicate. So there's ways, there's reasons, there's strategy that you can do this in a way that's actually giving you, it's not for it's for information and not for causing disruption, because sometimes that can also be a piece that we're subconsciously not realizing, that we're sometimes saying information and telling our partner something because sometimes subconsciously we're actually sabotaging the relationship. That's a whole nother thing. But this was on my heart, and I just wanted to really impart that on you, that when these things happen, your body is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, and it's information. And when you create a small system for yourself that after sex, whether it's in the moment after you realize like, okay, it happened again, I didn't say anything, or I froze, and maybe, he didn't notice. You have a little system for yourself. You go, maybe you take a nice warm shower, or you go somewhere and you kind of take a couple of breaths, or whatever it is, right? Because like right now I'm just resenting this month and he didn't notice, and because we're human. And then the next day you just journal what my body wanted to say last night and couldn't. It could be what is happening right now, and just have a system for yourself where you can reflect, you can reframe, understand that that your body protected you, and what's happening right now, so you can understand and better protect yourself, better care for yourself. And if it's the onset of what you feel right now, it's a life transition or a season in your life, or it's an event in your life, and it's a moment when you have it clearly somewhere on paper, and you sense that your partner needs to know that this is a time right now that you're going to need some tenderness, you let them know and you bring them into the fold. But at the very least, you would have reflected with yourself. You are clear about what it is that you need in this moment, and then you can clearly let them know as well. And I promise you that this is going to support you in being able to, over time, see how far you've come. When you have it written down, when you have yourself a system, one day you're going to be like, yo, I've come so far from not saying anything. Now I can say something on the second try. Now I'm not as resentful after sex. I may be a little bit tender, but I can actually get up off my bed and not stay stuck to the pillows and to the sheets. I can actually get up and move and do something for myself, come back, and in the morning I'm able to sleep a little better, and it doesn't consume me as much. So this is really for yourself, for your care, for your intimate care, and for reframing that your body isn't broken. Your body is 100% yours, and you are deserving of time and space to reflect after the good, the bad, and the most pleasurable as well. With that, I hope you have a beautiful night, day, afternoon, wherever you are. Mwah.